Understand?
Maximum of
Anybody else who is not clear about this? You want both to be true, right? This is true for all n greater than equal to n1. Sorry, n2. This is true for all n greater than equal to n2. Sorry, n1. Now you want both of them to be true. So what choice do you have? I mean, you have to take the common intersection essentially of both properties, right? So everything above n1 and everything above n2 means everything above the max of n1 and n2. Maximum is the larger one, right? It's because of this thing.
yeah.
So n greater than or equal to n0, which is max of n1, n2, if and only if n is greater than or equal to n1 and n is greater than or equal to n2. That's the definition of maximum. So now you can use both properties because this is true and this is true. Both are true. So if both inequalities will be true. That's the idea. Is
Yes,
that okay
yes.
now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else not clear with this? Alright, so this much is fine. What are we doing next? So now this condition. So we started with the definition of f is equal to theta g. Definition is that f is theta g if f is big O of g and f is big omega of g. And we opened these two definitions and saw that this is actually giving us this condition, that there are C1 and C2 and N naught such that this inequality, these two inequalities both hold true together. Right? That is what we have proven. And now in fact this is equivalent because, now listen carefully, this is equivalent. Let me explain it here itself so that I don't go to another slide. Let me explain it here itself. Suppose the last line is true already. Are you listening, everybody?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Suppose the last line is true already. Forget everything before that. Last line is true. That is, there exists C1, C2 and N naught, some positive integer, such that C2Gn is less than or equal to f of n less than or equal to C1Gn for all n greater than or equal to n naught. But if both inequalities are true for all n greater than or equal to n naught, now go back here. It means if both inequalities are true for all n greater than or equal to n naught, then both inequalities are true for, you know, whatever n1 and n2 you choose as that maximum is. So for all n greater than or equal to n naught, the first inequality is true. And for all n greater than or equal to n naught, the second inequality is true. Just from here. So for all n greater than or equal to n naught, this one is true. For all n greater than or equal to n naught, this one is true. So then again you can say f is big O of gn and f is big omega of g. Is that clear what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Right, so then we are done, right? Because if we have the second property, the last line, then in fact f is big O g, f is big omega g, and therefore by definition f is theta g. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
and that is what I finally written in the last slide. So instead of working out all this thing, equivalently, the equivalent condition is what we wrote in the last line. F of n is theta of g of n if, or rather I should write if and only if, that's what we just saw. If and only if there exist C1 and C2 greater than 0 and n naught positive such that C2Gn less than or equal to f of n less than or equal to C1Gn for all n greater than or equal to n naught. So this is the alternate characterization of theta. Is this much fine? This is okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so next. So big omega and big O and theta, these notations, you should try to think of them intuitively as you know, notations that help you compare two functions without actually looking at the exact values. You just want to compare the order of magnitude of these functions, not really compare them point-wise. Order of magnitude, if order of magnitude of g is larger than f, g grows much faster than f as n tends to infinity, then f is big O of g, f is bounded above by g. If the order of magnitude of f is larger than g, f grows much faster than g as n tends to infinity. Sorry, then g is big O of f, or equivalently f is big omega of g. And when you see that both, then how do you say both are of the same magnitude? Both grow roughly together. Then you say both should happen. F should be big omega and f should be big O of g. Then you can say that both ways you have this comparison, and therefore both are growing at roughly the same order. That is the meaning of theta. Okay. So next, anybody else? Any questions? Come on, this is your chance. Okay, so first of all, is there anyone who has not looked at the videos? Everybody has?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, can you please explain the fourth example which you did for Big O?
One second. Fourth example for below. Okay. One second. So I was just looking at the. I posted it at the YouTube channel. I hope all of you are able to look at the links. So the first part that I posted, Big O and Big Omega, I think most of you have seen. Second part, not many have seen. I think roughly just about 15 views are there. अपने class में how many students are there? 31, right? So nobody is saying anything when I asked whether you looked at the videos or not. मैं आपको डांटने नहीं वाला हूँ, मुझे जानना है कि what is the status. That is why I ask. So when I ask, you just tell me frankly whether you have or have not seen. I don't want to go ahead assuming that you have seen it when you have not seen it. Then there is no point, no? 15 people have, there is a view, that's all. Tick mark हुआ है YouTube के इसमें कि 15 लोगों ने वीडियो देखा है. अब किसने पूरा देखा है वो तो मैं जान नहीं सकता. But I am going to assume that if you have at least had a look at it, then you might have gone through it fully. Let's assume that. Still, first part, I guess many of you have, because there is enough number visible here. Second and third parts, not everybody has. Half of the class, not more than that, definitely. So what happened? Is there a problem from your side? Are you finding difficulty in looking at the videos? You tell me now. Is there an issue there? Definitely there are people who have not seen second and third parts. No, they are here in class today. You tell me, you have had any difficulty? You did not get time? You did not have internet? कुछ तो होगा ना कारण. Was there some problem? See, I will post videos like this in the remainder of the course as well. है ना? अब पूरा कोर्स आपको ऐसे स्टाइल का आदत करना है। तो अभी शुरुआत में अगर कुछ बदलाव चाहिए इस स्टाइल में तो अभी बताओ, आधा सेमेस्टर के बाद बताएंगे तो बदलने में मुझे भी मुश्किल होगी। You tell now frankly, if you're finding difficulty, you tell now, today, now. Next 5 minutes I'm giving you.
Everything was good, sir.
Okay, so one student says everything was good. Okay. Let me just wait for a couple of minutes. I mean, if you're completely silent when I ask you something, what am I supposed to assume? Okay, anyways, let us move ahead, but just listen to this very carefully, okay? Just realize the course, I mean, things will go in this speed. Today, you're not saying if you have a problem. Therefore, I'm going to assume you will not have a problem. And then I'll continue like this. Okay, we will have some portions in the video, we will have some portions in the discussion, like this. If you have not seen the video, if you come to the discussion like this and don't ask anything, later on, whenever you study for the exam or whenever it is, if you have doubts, I will not be able to clear because at that time I will not be there. Okay, so still today you did not look at videos, chalta hai. Okay, this is only the beginning, so not a big issue, but make sure that you spend time. Okay, you can maybe continue like this for abhi kaun se chal raha hai, this is lecture 1 going on according to my count. There are 3 parts, right? There may be one more part to this. It's all lecture 1. You can continue like this for lecture 2 also maximum. Lecture 2 तक आप थोड़ा आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ऐसा ले लीजिए. But remember, after that things will become more serious and more sort of, you will start having to give time, otherwise you will fall back and it will be very very difficult to catch up. Okay, so it's all right if you miss a few videos, you did not watch it. When I ask, say I have not seen the video, did not get time, whatever it is, just say it's all right. I'll adjust my pace accordingly, that's why I'm asking. Okay, so go back and watch these. Very very important, go back and watch these. If you keep missing them like this, later on you will be in trouble and I may not be able to help you because you would have gone very much ahead in the syllabus. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So think about this and spend time on this. Anyways, you're doing this for your degree, so थोड़ा पढ़ लो, अच्छा ही होगा. Okay, all right, so no other doubts about videos, then I will start from my side. I will discuss a little bit more. No other doubts?
Sir, can you please explain the example which you did for big
Oh,
one, the fourth one?
Right. So once again, this one, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, all right. So let's look at the first 3 examples just for momentarily. So I was telling this intuitive idea, right? Growth of the function, right? The rate at which it is growing. Okay, how fast is the function tending to infinity? That is what big O and big omega are trying to capture. Okay. So when you say 1 is big omega n goes to infinity faster than 1. Do you agree? Somebody asked me the doubt. No, I'm asking you only. Yeah. So now until we finish this, you should be very very active with your mic. Okay, because I'll be asking. Others cannot reply whatever, but you ask, so you should reply. Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So n is going to infinity faster than 1. Is that fine?
Yes.
Because 1 is not going anywhere. 1 is 1. It's a constant. Okay. So this is fairly trivial. Okay. That's the meaning intuitively. But the proof is the technical statement. You know, n is greater than or equal to 1 anyways. So it's there. The second statement, intuitively. Let's just look at it intuitively. The idea is that will square root n go to infinity faster than 1? Again, yes, because 1 is 1. 1 stays wherever it is. Constant function. Square root n goes to infinity. So 1 is big O of square root n. Trivially. Again, the argument is, well, for all n greater than or equal to 1, we do have square root n greater than or equal to 1. Therefore, this is fine. Now, once again, the third example, when you look at all n greater than or equal to 1 and compare square root n with n, which, according to you, will go faster to infinity? Which one will grow faster? Square root n or n?
N.
N? Do you agree? Because square root n is going to be smaller, no?
Yes, sir.
Much smaller. Right? N is like square root n squared. Square root n plus square. Right? So n is going to grow much faster. That's why square root n is big O of n. Because the order of growth of square root n is bounded above by the order of growth of n. Okay? That is the intuitive idea. Why am I saying intuitive idea? Because eventually later on you may not have to prove every such statement. I mean, it should become automatic to you. Intuitively itself, by looking at it, you should be able to say where is big O, where is big omega, where is little o. You may not have to prove every single detail all the time. Okay, that will take too much time. This is just the beginning, first chapter, first lesson. That is why we are doing all the proof details. Okay, but later on we have many other things to do. Then, chutki mein you should be able to say which function is bounded above by which one, which function is bounded below by which one. That's why the intuitive idea should get into your head. Okay. So square root n is big O n. Do you agree with this? Is this obvious now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now just look at this and say, is n big O of square root n? Forget the answer or everything. Just I give you two functions. I say n is big O square root n. What does it tell you? Is it correct or not?
No.
No. Okay. Why do you think so?
No, it's not.
Just give me an
Because
intuitive
n will
answer.
grow faster than root n.
Exactly. Right. So root n cannot be going much faster towards infinity than n. So this is definitely not true. Okay. Therefore, n is not big O square root n. How do we prove this? Right? Many statements. So many statements, when you have to prove that they are false, what do? You usually go for a proof by contradiction, right? You have seen many examples by now of proof by contradiction, correct? You
Yes,
all
sir.
are familiar with proof by contradiction. That's what we are doing here. So let's just prove by contradiction. Suppose n is big O square root n. Suppose it's true that square root n grows faster than n. Something should go wrong somewhere, right? Some argument should break down. Let's just see what breaks down. Okay, so suppose square root n grows faster than n. That is, suppose n is big O square root n. What does that say by definition? There is a c greater than 0 and n naught such that n is less than or equal to c times square root n for all n greater than or equal to n. Is this much clear? First line.
Yes.
I mean, we are just supposing that this is true, and therefore by definition we get this. Correct. But now I can always do, now the idea is, do some tricks that you know, some arithmetic. So add something, subtract something, divide something, multiply something. You have to play with inequalities and get a contradiction. That's what you try to do in every proof by contradiction, right? Do something that you are familiar with. Use something that is given to you and get a contradiction. That's what you have to do here. Correct? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now there could be many ways of doing this. You could try other ways also. One way is the following. Square root n is anyways positive number, so I can always divide it. So I just divide throughout by square root n. So n by square root n is square root n. N by square root n is square root n. And this is c. That's what we get. Therefore, what this says is for all n greater than or equal to n naught, square root n is less than or equal to c. Up to here, this is fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, don't look at the remaining lines. Just stay here at this point, okay? And tell me, is there something wrong in what we have arrived at, in what we have argued? Do we have a contradiction here itself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the contradiction? What is the problem? Intuitively, what is the problem?
सर अगर n इंक्रीज होगा तो फिर वो एक कांस्टेंट टर्म से थोड़ी ना कम हो सकता है
एकदम
बिकॉज
बराबर.
n will keep increasing.
Correct, right? C is a constant, right? C is a choice that we got right at the start. C is not changing. C is a constant. But square root n will go to infinity as n tends to infinity. So it's not possible that square root n is bounded above by C. Right? This says that square root n is bounded. That cannot be true. Correct? So that's the contradiction, in fact. In fact, I am okay if, if you get a problem like this, and if you stop at a point here, a point that looks like this, and say, this is a contradiction. That is enough, okay? This is a contradiction, it's very clear why it's a contradiction, okay? So if you write like this, if you stop here and say, this is a contradiction, that is okay for me. Because, it's okay for you as well, right? It's pretty clear. You are saying that a function that is going to infinity is bounded above by a constant. That's not possible. That's the contradiction. Okay. But now, since we are in the first lecture, just for more completeness, I am giving you the rest of the argument. The rest of the argument is something that you do, the kind of stuff that you do in your BSc. Now, how do you get a contradiction very, very precisely from here? So you will have to say that, okay, this is true, but then you have to find, what do you have to do in order to disprove this? You have to find some n greater than or equal to n naught, for which square root n is greater than c. Correct? That will give you the contradiction. Is that okay? That much is fine?
Yes, sir.
So now what is that sum n? Well, n has to be greater than n naught. So definitely I'm taking that number to be n prime. So n prime has to be greater than n naught. So it should be at least n naught plus 1. That's the first part. But now square root of n prime should be greater than c. Right? What does that mean? So let's do some working here, rough work. Square root of n prime should be greater than c. That is square root of n prime greater than or equal to c plus 1. That is, if and only if squaring both sides, n prime greater than or equal to c plus 1 squared, right? So n prime should also be greater than c plus 1 squared. So that's it. Take both of these, take their maximum so that both are true, right? And then you are done, because then you have n prime greater than or equal to n naught plus 1 greater than n naught. So this condition is true. But n prime is greater than or equal to c plus 1 squared, so square root n prime is actually greater than or equal to c plus 1, but then it contradicts this. Therefore, you have a contradiction. Because on one side, you're getting greater than or equal to c plus 1. On the other, by whatever you had before, you're getting less than or equal to c, or less than c plus 1. That is a contradiction. Is that okay? Do you understand this proof by contradiction?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay, so let me keep this.
Yes.
That's all you. That's all. Okay. So, right. Next. Give me 1 minute. I'll just get water. Meanwhile, just go on. I'm here only. So if you have a doubt, just ask. Yes, anything else? This was from the first part, no? Big O, big omega. What about this next part? Little o, little omega. Those who have seen, you don't have doubts from that part? Those who have seen those parts?
नहीं सर, समझा था वो।
अच्छा, ठीक है। Okay, fine. So if we are done with discussing doubts, now what is remaining? There are small exercises that I gave you in between, right? Have you tried those?
Yes sir, but some are remaining.
Some are remaining. Okay. So remaining in the sense you can still try, right? I mean, or is it that you have tried and you have not got? What is it? What is it? What is the status?
I have to try those.
You have to try this. Okay, that is fine. That's fine. Okay, so let's do this. I'll sort of just take you through slide by slide. Okay, and if you think something is not clear, just stop me there and ask. And whenever we hit upon an exercise, I'll try to solve it. Okay. देखते हैं कितना होता है आज.
Okay.
If we cannot complete all the three parts, we'll do it tomorrow. Is that okay? So
Yes.
this is the yeah. Okay. So big O and big omega is the definition of big O. F is bounded by G. The definition of big omega, F is bounded below by G. And there is this, you don't have to write F and G, you can write Fn and Gn just for convenience. Basic examples, we just looked at it, okay? Which one grows faster than which one? That is the question. And we just saw that for the same reason, n cannot, square root n cannot grow faster than n. So n is not big O square root n. So we saw that. Big omega, now it should be the same, right? The same, exactly the same idea now. N is growing faster than 1, so n is big omega 1, right? Or 1 is big O of n. Similarly, square root n grows faster than 1, n grows faster than square root n. Square root n does not grow faster than n, so square root n cannot be omega of n. Okay, so this is the first exercise. So first of all, is this clear that the answer is no?
Yes.
Yes sir, it's clear.
Okay, so do you want me to solve this, or will you try this and we can meet tomorrow and discuss? So I'm giving you two choices. Again, since some of you are saying that some things are remaining to try, we cannot keep repeating or keep having extra lectures all the time. But since we are beginning, one more chance. If you want, if you promise me to try today, then we'll look at the exercises tomorrow.
Yes sir.
Is that okay? Take one more.
Yes.
Take today as well. Whatever is remaining in
Yes,
the
sir.
videos, go through them. Okay, and the
Yes.
exercises, solve them. Now solve the exercises. It's very important. नहीं करेंगे तो बाद में मुश्किल होगा. Okay, समझ में नहीं आएगा. That's why I'm saying, spend time. Okay, solve them, and we'll look at these tomorrow. So tomorrow is basically an exercise session. I mean, again, first half an hour or something. If you have doubts from the remaining parts, we'll look at that. But then I'll solve these exercises, and then we'll just go on solving problems related to these. We have to solve lots of problems about these before we go to the next topic. Okay, this is a very, very important topic. This first lecture, first chapter. We have to solve lots of problems. So that's what we are going to do this week, more or less. Okay, so if you don't look at videos, then it's also, I mean, it's just not possible. you will not benefit from it at all. So let's decide on this. Everybody who has not completed viewing these things, you will complete it today and you will try the exercises today before we meet tomorrow morning. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so then that's it. Good. Okay. So let's meet tomorrow to solve these problems, solve some more problems. Let me finish by just going through all these slides once, okay? So that suddenly if anybody looks at something and gets a doubt, then we'll do it today itself. We still have some 10-15 minutes remaining. So let me go through the remaining slides once. Okay, so then what we said was that, there is this, it's big O if and only if big omega on the other side. That's what the definition also says. So F is big O G, G grows faster than F, which means G is big omega F because G grows faster than F. That's what this is. So formally the proof is just a few lines. So F is big O Gn, Fn is big O Gn. By definition there is a C and N not says that this is true. Then you have to bring it in this form, in the form of G equal to omega Fn. So you take the constant on the other side and then you have this. And this 1 by C is a constant. If C is a constant, 1 by C is a constant. So if C is positive, 1 by C is positive. So take C prime to be this, and then we have this, and then G is big omega. Very, very simple. Okay. Converse is also actually very, very easy. It's the same thing in the reverse, right? You start with C prime. If you start with C here, you go back, and you get C prime here. That's what this is. There's nothing more than that. Okay. Just practice writing it. So converse is also very easy. Okay, then we go to the second part is little o and little omega, which is much stronger. Okay, so when you say big O and big omega, what is actually happening there is that you're saying that one function is growing faster than the other, but you're still leaving the possibility that when you say faster, it's like greater than or equal to. Okay, there is still a chance of equal to. It is still possible that the two have the same order of growth. But when you say little o, little omega, no, it's analog of strict inequality. Now the order cannot be the same. It's actually growing strictly faster than the other function. That is the idea of little o and little omega. So when we say f is little o of g, when g grows strictly faster than f, not just faster than f. When you say g grows faster than f, it is still possible that f and g grow at the same rate. It's like saying greater than or equal to. Okay. But now when you say little omega, it means g is strictly faster than f. That's why little o, you should think of it as saying f is very, very small as compared to g. That's a good way to remember this. So how do you say that g grows strictly faster than f? Well, if you take the ratio f of n by g of n and gn is growing strictly faster, going to infinity strictly faster than f, then this limit should go to 0, right? Because this fn will become smaller and smaller and smaller compared to gn. Okay, so that is the definition. And this definition, if we can sort of open it, we can open the definition of the limit and rewrite this. So this means for every epsilon, there is an n naught says that fn by gn is at most epsilon for all n greater than equal to n naught. But then this says fn is at most epsilon gn for all n greater than equal to n naught. And this is a stronger condition because epsilon is any epsilon greater than 0. Epsilon can be as small as possible. Whereas in big O, we had a constant c. It need not be small. It's just some constant. Okay. Here you can take any small epsilon and still you should have this to be true for all n greater than or equal to some n. Okay. Now the reverse. So when we say f is little omega of g, it actually means g is little o f. So f grows much faster than, strictly faster than g. Therefore, when you take the limit gn by fn, this should go to 0 because f is growing much faster than g. Okay, gn will be smaller and smaller than fn as n is large. Which means for all epsilon greater than 0, there is n naught says that this inequality is true. Okay, we have just opened the limit definition. Right. So again, example, the same examples actually. When we saw the previous examples, we had big O, big omega, but in fact the order of growth was strict there. And that's why those are actually examples of little o and little omega also. Okay, so n grows strictly faster than 1 because 1 is 1, it stays where it is. So 1 is little o n. Similarly, 1 is little o square root n. Compare square root n and n again, n is square of square root n. So n grows strictly faster than square root n. Therefore, n is little o n, not just big O n. N is in fact little o n. And now for the same reason, n square root n is not growing faster than n. So square root n is not even n is not even omega square root n. So there is no chance of, sorry, n is not even big O square root n. Right? Square root n is growing smaller than n. So n cannot be insignificant. N cannot be very, very small as compared to square root. No chance. So n cannot be little o square root n. Okay. Now unlike the proof for n not equal to big O square root n, here the proof is even simpler. You just have to take the limit of the ratio, right? What is the limit of this ratio? N by square root n is square root n. So when n tends to infinity, it goes to infinity, not to 0. So this cannot be true. So this is in fact easier to check. Easier to check. Okay. Right. So that's what this was. And then the other way around. So n is little omega 1 because 1 is little o of n. Square root n is little omega 1. N is little omega square root n because square root n is little o n. Right? And for the same reason, square root n cannot be little omega of n. Okay. And now once again, just by looking at the limit of the ratio definition, you can prove that f is little o g if and only if g is little omega f, just as we had in the big O, big omega case. Okay, that's what this is. Right, and then theta we just discussed a little bit while ago. Theta means they are both growing at the same order. So it's at almost like we saying equal to, which means less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. So in this sense, it has to be big O and big omega, both together. And then this is the equivalent condition. So Fn is theta Gn if there is a constant C1, C2 greater than 0 and n0 says that this inequality is true. Right? Now a little more about this. So now we are looking at some more properties. Okay, so now the first, this is what we were looking at even before, but we are writing it down more clearly now, which is, well, little o is stronger than big O, right? What does f little o of g, f equal to little o of g say? G grows strictly faster than f, therefore g grows faster than f, therefore f is big O of g, right? G grows strictly faster, which means G grows faster. So if f is little o of g, f is big O of g. And that's the proof here. And that's more or less what we are writing here as well. So by definition, for every epsilon, there is an n naught such that Fn is at most epsilon g, and you pick any one epsilon to be that constant c. Let's say epsilon is 1. Then there is an n naught such that Fn is at most 1 times g, and for all n greater than 2 times naught, and therefore this is true. That's all. Okay. So big O is weaker than little o, or little O is stronger than big O. Okay. Similarly, this, I mean, it's just the reverse of what we just saw. Okay. Little omega g is so f is growing strictly faster than g, which means f is growing faster than g, which means f is big omega of g. It's the same thing. So try writing this proof. Okay, that's the exercise. And now here is an interesting thing. How do you check if f is theta of g? One way is to show that f is big O g and f is big omega g. Another way is this test. This is a test. Okay. If you find that Fn by Gn for some reason, if this ratio, the limit of this ratio is easy to check, suppose, if the ratio of this limit of this ratio is easy to check, and you can show that this limit is a positive number lambda, not 0, not infinity, but a positive number lambda, then f will be theta of g. Okay, and that's the proof. So first of all, if just by definition it should be clear now that if f is theta of g, then g is theta of f. And you see that because if fn by gn goes to lambda, gn by fn will go to 1 by lambda. 1 by lambda is also a positive number, so no problem there. It is fine. Okay. So suppose this limit is true, suppose there is a lambda that is positive, then definition of limit for every epsilon there is an n naught says that this is true. But then you just open this mod absolute value. What does this say? Around lambda you have this much distance, right? At most epsilon. So fn by gn is at most lambda plus epsilon, or at least lambda minus epsilon. It has to be between this. It has to be in this interval for all n greater than or equal to n naught, right? Now just to get a positive number on the left side, you just have to pick epsilon to be less than lambda, right? In order to show theta, you need positive constants, right, on both sides. So just pick some epsilon that gives you a positive number on the left side. Right side will be anyways positive, not a problem. So for the left side, we pick epsilon equal to lambda by 2. So that lambda minus lambda by 2 is lambda by 2, which is a positive number. That is this. On the right side, we have 3 lambda by 2, that is this. Right? So what do we have? We have fixed this choice, epsilon equal to lambda by 2. And now there is an n naught, such that for all n greater than or equal to n naught, lambda by 2 gn is at most fn is at most 3 lambda by 2 gn. So this is like C2 and this is like C1. And therefore fn is theta of gn. Okay. Now comes the important remark. Converse is not true. What does that mean? Let's go back to the statement. What does that mean? First thing that we saw is if the limit of the ratio converges to a positive real number lambda, then f is theta of g. When I say converse is not true, what I mean is it is not necessary that if f is theta of g, then the limit should go to a positive number. That is not required. If f is theta of g, then the limit need not go to a positive number. But there is a problem. If limit is infinity, then it's not possible. 0 not possible. It's only possible in the case of lambda, positive number. So if f is theta of g, and if this limit does not go to a positive number, it means the limit does not exist. Okay, so that is what I want you to think about. So there are examples of f and g where f is theta of g, but this limit does not exist. Okay, so that is the converse statement. F could be theta g, but limit fn by gn may not converge. That's the converse statement. What's a counter example? Now find an example of f and g such that f is theta of g, but the limit of fn by gn does not converge. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
And the examples are very, very simple. Okay, think of extremely simple examples. Don't complicate yourself. Think of extremely simple examples. We have looked at extremely simple examples in the big O, big omega, little o, little omega case. Work with just those examples. Answer is there itself, more or less. Okay, you just have to think about it a little bit. So yeah, that is the end of it. Okay, so that is the end of the lecture as such. I'll stop sharing. So I can do one thing. If it is useful for you, I will put these separately as a PDF file, these slides on MS Teams, so that you can look at them later on also. So that's it. Okay, so yeah, as we decided, look through the remaining videos and try solving the exercises before we meet tomorrow. We'll meet tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Okay, before that I might put up one more video. Let us see. Not sure. I'll either put it today or tomorrow. Or let us first finish this. I'll put it tomorrow only. I'll not put it today. Okay. let's finish this. Just focus on what is there right now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I think we are all